Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have one of the most violent attacks that I have ever heard. And you will soon see why. Sometimes violent attacks are different than what you normally would think. But once you hear this, there's no denying it. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. Click the like button, and please leave a comment. It definitely does help, and it definitely does matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? Alright, so today the individual I'm going to be interviewing, I talked to for quite a while, reviewed some of his information that he sent me, and blew me away. Because, like I've said before, there's no way of vetting somebody because I wasn't there. And he vetted himself, actually, with a polygraph. And, you know, what's really in poor taste is he reached out to other channels, and one kind of made a mockery of his encounter and what he was going through. A couple others didn't, actually. And it's pretty sad, you know, that this individual do that. But I gave him a chance because I looked through all of his information and I was like, well, first of all, I don't deny anybody a chance at the platform, but with everything this guy's got, and then once I heard it, I was blown away. Let's get into it. Also, what you are going to see during this interview are pages from his polygraph. We're going to have another upload with him shortly, and he's going to be sharing other pictures and information such as recorded sounds and video with us. All right, everybody. Today I have a guest from the United Kingdom. He had reached out to me, said that he had very interesting and the best way I can describe it is violent attack on his life and his sanity. And today I welcome Rob to the channel. Rob, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
I
think that's a good descriptive entrance.
Yeah. I spoke to Rob for about a half an hour prior to this interview, and what he has gone through in 7 months is something that, you know, well, he's lucky to be alive, to be honest with you. And so I'm going to give the mic over to Rob so he can introduce himself and kind of share a little bit of what occurred. And I will be asking some questions. But it's definitely an encounter that we used to hear about a long time ago. A lot of attacks were done this way by these creatures, and unfortunately, Rob got the really crappy end of the stick on this one. So, Rob, the mic's yours if you want to kind of start off with how everything kind of started for you and when everything started.
Yeah, so what I'm actually just going to do is I'm just going to quick summarise my story. So this is basically an infrasound nightmare, which I suffered for 7 months. It drove me out of 2 homes. drove me to the point where I wanted to be dead. I've got interactions galore in my mind, seeing these beings in the physical, in the supernatural, black shadow form, been run upon when they've been cloaked and stuff like that. So, although this story might start off boring, it isn't a boring story, and I ask you viewers to just persevere. It is going to drone on about this infrasounding quite a bit, but I cannot help that. That's what a lot of the weapon of choice, underhand weapon of choice was for these beings. And I'll just cover one more thing to say that not only is my story true, but it's also backed up by a police grade lie detector test, which I chose to pay for after this ordeal had ended, to prove my integrity, which has always been there. My family's always known me to be honest and straightforward, but I knew what a crazy thing I'd been through, so I wanted to prove my integrity. So I had liedetectortest.co.uk come out, £400 fee, and I'll just cover the questions quickly. It was, have I seen what I know for sure to be a Bigfoot, well, cryptid? And I answered yes. So I'm going to try and talk a bit slower so that you can understand me more, because I've had complaints about that in the past. So I answered yes, I have seen what I know for sure to be a cryptid, told the truth. So my next question was the only reason, one reason I left my home in Matlock due to the harassment from these cryptids? I said yes, told the truth. So again, we're getting a bit more powerful. That's quite a powerful question to, the only reason. It was the only reason I got drove out that home of 8 years. And so then the next question I had 4 was, have I seen these cryptids on more than 4 occasions? And I said yes, I have. And I told the truth. It's perhaps been about 8 or 10. So, okay. Even more if I class as self-illuminating eyes and stuff like that.
Right.
The last question, which is my golden question, have I ever knowingly told a single lie about my Bigfoot experience? One lie. And that's all the 7 months of hell what I went through, and all the time before when I was recording them, audio. Have I told one lie? Knowingly told one lie? No, I have not. And I told the truth. So what your viewers have actually got access to here is a totally truth-telling, sort of verified account, ordeal, description of these beings and how my nightmare went, but also the abilities of them. So you can actually get a lot of insight into these beings and learn a lot. Certainly, I'd like this to be a warning for your viewers.
Yeah.
That these beings can be very dangerous.
I'd like to really cut in really quick, though. One thing, too, is Rob had already said, I did this polygraph, but he has proof of the polygraph as well, which he said he would send me. So for anyone that wants to doubt what he's saying, he's really backed himself on this, because he went through a literal nightmare, hell, just a hell. And he wanted people to not look at him like he was crazy. He wanted people to know that, hey, this is going on. This is not in my head. I don't have any mental illness. This is something that these creatures are doing to me.
Couldn't have said that better myself, mate. I applaud you for that. I have actually attached it to one of the emails, the lie detector, but I'll send it you again. Do you know what I mean? No problem. So, okay, so my story starts in the Midlands of the UK. I don't want to get too specific, because I don't really want other people to try and seek these beings out and suffer any similar effects. So I was following a channel, the British Bigfoot Research, which is not a channel I'm fond of, but that's another story. And a video came up about a sighting about 3 miles from my home in Stanwell, in Derbyshire. And it was a monkey-faced man seen on Stanwell. So I took it upon myself to just leave a random recorder. It was an old recorder I had on the hedge top in a polythene bag, and didn't think I'd get any crazy audio. I left some sandwiches, as stupid as it sounds as well, and they fell over the back of the hedge. However, when I went and picked the recorder up the next morning and listened back to it, so during the night it rained, and I can remember thinking, I've left that bag open topped, it's going to be knackered, that is. Oddly, the recorder had not even got wet. The bag was horizontal instead of vertical, not catching all the rain, and it had been moved about 1 metre. And it got all this really crazy audio on it. whereas it should have been, it was a fog-filled winter night, should have been literally next to nothing on this recorder. So I repeated this process about 8 times and thought I was actually building a bit of a rapport with these beings. I was very fascinated, intrigued. I felt privileged to be getting this insight. I was like, what? He was handling the recorder quite often. Crazy yelling and monkey noises and all, fake owl calling, sonic barks, all these things was happening. And so it was when I was placing a recorder, probably about 8 recorders in, that I had my first sighting of one peeping behind a tree at me. Only the shifting body mass. It shifted out, shifted back in, shifted back out, and shifted back in. And I had it pinned in my torchlight. And basically, I dropped some grapes on the floor in a bag, said food, and left. And that one made me feel quite calm. So again, I didn't know what sort of beast I was toying with, if you like. And I started crossing the line where I bought a game camera, I was trying. So I heard these characters coming down the train line near my home. I might as well just list the locations because it all adds to the authenticity of the story, which was Matlock. Basically the river, and there's a train line which went past my home. So I'm sat in my front room about to go to bed about 11:30, 12, and I hear all this fake owl calling and everything coming towards my home down the train line. And so I heard them go past, and I was like, I jumped on my electric mountain bike, and I set off. I went right up over the top so I could look down into all the valley. I didn't hear another noise. So I didn't hear another noise.
So
basically, just to hear me, okay.
Really quick, when that made that howl, do you think that it was howling at you to get you to acknowledge it, or just to kind of just?
Sorry, if it sounded like an owl. So it was a fake owl.
Like
call, owl.
Oh, okay, a fake owl call. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you think it was trying to get you to?
Any crazy Bigfoot screams or howls during all this, but owl calls.
Owl. Okay. Okay.
And so I heard this going down past my home, and I jumped on my mountain bike and didn't hear it all the time. I was out on my electric mountain bike. I had to go anywhere, and I dropped down into Darley-Dale, and then I was just heading back home, and I heard it on the Whitworth Park, on the train line there. So I turned on my lights off, slide down onto Whitworth Park on my mountain bike, and I'm sat at the bottom of Whitworth Park in the dark, and I heard fake owl calling on the train line. Then something chasing all the geese, getting all in a flap and flapping and coming onto the park, onto the pond, and big steps, big bipedal feet running onto the park. And I'm sat in there in dark, and I start getting this feeling. Of course, a being was there, and he knew I was and stuff. I started feeling uneasy, so I left. Then I did a stupid move. I covered all the infrared lights on my camera, went outside and tried strapping it to a tree facing the train line, like Rodney Trotter, I was dropping it and all. You know, I'm no pro at this sort of thing. And basically went back home, set the alarm, collected it back about 4 a.m. And the Bigfoot discovers it and is tapping the back of it. And I was also doing crazy things like I strongly believe I know where the went to at night time, like in my mind, I'm not looking at that bigger place and stuff. I sort of figured that out, and I was sat there quite often expecting to run upon me with my phone recording in front of me, sat in a specific place, and I'd seen red eyes looking at me then, basically. So, you know, I was hitting the nail on the head with a lot of my investigation. It wasn't skilled investigation work, it was just, it's the UK, it ain't that big a place, it weren't that hard to figure. I was up late at night quite often, etc. I had a mountain bike that could go anywhere. I was hitting the nail on the head.
Right.
So I also got a photo of one peeping over a wall, this massive upside down tree at Deathwick Pond. And basically, I was irritating these beings, and so they turned on me. So I'm at my home after this game camera, I left another camera after I got my game camera back in. And basically, I pushed my luck too much, and 2 nights later, the next night I was laid on my settee, and I seen 2 beings swaying left to right, and with red eyes, like down by the river. And I was like, what's that? That looks like 2 beings. And they weren't stood still; they were swaying like left to right, you know, bunga bunga sort of, left to right. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. What's that? You know, not knowing what it was fully, but it was 2 beings like discussing me. So all the Bigfoot had done when I tried this sloppy game camera placement was simply follow me home with its eyes. It had not even had to move. Do you know what I mean? It could just follow me with its eyes, go across the road, go up the lift, and then across the corridor with my bike and into my place. That's all it had to do. And 2 nights later, I hear all this same owl calling, etc., yelling and stuff like that. But it's coming to my apartment and they start banging on my railings, and I start getting this odd hum in the atmosphere outside. And all my electric, I was watching YouTube a lot of the time, like Scam Calling YouTube channel, I think the name of it. But all this interference started happening, whereas it should have been clean audio talking, it wasn't. It was like all horrible evil interference. I was like, this is odd, what's going off here? And I tried putting Sky TV on, same, picking up this evil interference, this odd hum in the atmosphere. And so after 2 nights of this, I felt very affected, shall we say. And so one more thing for your listeners, this all happened exactly at the same time of the first coronavirus lockdown in the UK, where we wasn't allowed outside, we were just allowed out once to get shopping, wasn't allowed to visit anybody, all this sort of thing. And so, that's what I was saying. Yeah, so this odd interference and stuff, and the effects on me. And I was like, what's happening here? So the first night it happened, I was on about putting my coat on. I was recording. I had the recorder on the windowsill. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. These beings are coming to me. This is crazy. I'm saying into the recorder. And I'm on about putting my coat on and going out kicking off. You know what I mean? I didn't do intimidation, you know what I mean, in my mind. So that's sort of the mindset I was at. I'm not doing intimidation, I don't care. It is what it is. I'm going out saying, get knotted, F off, go and sling you up, that sort of thing. I didn't actually put my coat on and go down, but I certainly I was only very close to that. Anyway, after 2 nights of this, I felt very peculiar indeed, where I felt scared, I felt like impending doom, I felt very threatened, I felt like I'd say my balance was affected later down the line, but so my hearing was affected. What infrasound does, it mixes the ear fluids in the ear. Mm-hmm. So, but I couldn't understand what was doing this to me other than Bigfoot voodoo, I called it. That's what I was suffering, Bigfoot voodoo. And it was a Bigfoot being and its crew, like, what was coming to mind. And basically, I knew I was getting affected massively by weaponised, what was interfering with my electronics, a hot hum in the atmosphere, which I'd hear. Every car sounded evil. It like changed everything. Every noise sounded evil to me. It was horrible. And so I started having to go online to search out Bigfoot weapon, Bigfoot attack, Bigfoot harassment, all these things. And I came across this claim that Bigfoot's can infrasound, and I read the side effects, and bang, that's every side effect I was suffering to quite a degree, you know what I mean? And so after 2 nights of this, it affected me greatly, where I had feelings of impending doom, like this being was just going to smash through my double patio glass and just snap my neck, turn my head one way around and run off. What was to stop it at the end of the day? What was to stop it, really? And I don't hear of it too much, but that's what my mind was thinking because of this harassment. And so that was 2 nights of this, and I felt really affected by it, really scared. So I actually suffered for 3 months at that property before I managed to get a move.
Non-stop, like every night was the...
Yeah. The layoff, eventually I'd be collapsed in a heap, if you like, and I'd just be in bed all that night and all next day. And they'd back away then. They knew when I was asleep, you know what I mean, sort of thing. And then just start up again. But yeah, literally. So it was 3 months there.
And there was really quick. I don't mean to cut you off because I just want everyone to know everything, because I mean we've talked and I got to hear the gist of everything. But there was at that home. There was also physical noises and physical that you could hear too, right? Or was this at your next home?
Yeah. So what had happened is, so it went on for 3 months, but like a week into this, there was a pattern where they'd come to my home in the evening, and this interference was present once the dark hours dropped, very present. Also started becoming present in the daytime as well. So it was infrasounding me during the day. And there's a cliff behind where I lived, basically, with all the trees and shrubbery and stuff. And so that was the obvious launching point. And also a balcony in the apartment below me was empty below me. And I later found out they was using that balcony as well to launch this infrasound. You know, basically as up close and personal as to my abode as what they could get. So they'd come and it'd be all this odd yelling, but more so fake owl calling, big grumbling noises, big aggressive, deep sounding, horrible, evil noises, banging stuff, and I mean horrible noises like that. And this fake owl calling, all this barking, odd yelling, and stuff like that.
You compared it to like a dragon out of hell.
Yeah. So I'm glad you raised that, because 3 words stuck in my mind. From the minute they turned on me, and that first night, my mind got imprinted with 3 words, and they was evil, powerful, merciless. That's what the attack was. Evil, powerful, and merciless. And them 3 words proved to be the case all the way through this ordeal. Merciless, especially. Wow. So what I figured out in my apartment was that I learned about this infrasound. I contacted Scott Carpenter. I'm actually on his website in the comments, begging people to just help me understand what's going off and stuff. But anyway, I contacted him, and I learned that when I was in my front room with this double patio door and a big window at the front, big window at the back, I was most affected. And I learned to retreat into my 2-bedroom. So I'd be in the bedrooms, and the cliff was behind my home, set back about 20 metres, and they had 2 perches on there, and I'll tell you how I know that later on, but to the infrared camera what I brought, and flushing out red when I put it out. But okay, so they was launching it off the cliff, and I was getting, it wasn't an escape in my bedrooms, and so I'd been near my bathroom, and I'd be getting affected. My bathroom, of course, is the extractor fan. These beings are not stupid. They're very intelligent. They operate like an SAS specialist infrasounding team when they want to, and they were simply blowing it down the bathroom extractor fan. Once they'd heard me, heard the noise when I was in the bathroom and stuff. Right. 2 and 2 together listening.
So they were being very tactical about this attack on you as well.
Yeah,
they were just...
Yeah, very tactical. And I learned that the best place to be was my hallway. Which was, I had a front room one side, then a bedroom, and my hallway. So I was sleeping in my hallway. So that gives a little bit of insight into how horrible this harassment and this infrasounding was. The fact that I was sleeping on just a little bit of a foam pad in my hallway, because I was the least affected. However, when I'd lie down to sleep, this harassment would kick up big time and scare me. Like, I'm not a chicken by any means, so don't let your viewers get that impression. But I was scared. I had feelings of impending doom, side effect of infrasound, like confusion, brain fog, like all these sort of things. Hearing affected. Littlest noises. I'd be anxiety. I'd be talking to me. I always had to have a recorder going, so that I felt safer. Do you know what I mean? Like a recorder was like a bit of a safety net.
Right.
And I'd be talking into it like, I can hear banging now. Enough of this. It's weird. This is, I don't know what. Sorry, I'm swearing. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm confused. What's going on? Is it proper aggressive? I pissed them off. So, excuse my language.
Yeah, it gave you a friend. It gave you a friend when no one was there to talk to.
Yeah. And and at times I'd be talking to this recorder, my head would just literally seize up like brain fog from the effects of this, and so. Yeah, so this was happening, and I decided that I didn't want to stay at Matlock, because when I go out to try to get some relief from this on my mountain bike, that used to work. I'd go on my mountain bike, I'd be pedaling, moving, I was fine. But they had this ability to track me and turn up wherever I went. So I'd go out in my car sometimes to get out of my home, because it was like being in a infrasound hell. I'm not exaggerating when I can't describe how bad it was. It really was torment, torturous.
Well, really quick, powerful. Before you go any further, I just want everyone to know it was so bad to the effect that this torture, the infrasound, and everything else that was going on. And Rob said it great when we were talking. He said, Jeff, I don't know if it's considered infrasound or electromagnetic, but it got so bad to where Rob didn't want to live anymore. It was that bad. I mean, it just drained him physically.
Yeah, craving to be dead so bad, because they just wouldn't stop. If it just stopped, them feelings would have resided. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But So just to put it in perspective for your viewers, you can imagine this is a 7-month ordeal, and there's a lot in my mind. I mean, I've not even touched up on any of the sightings and intimidation yet. So yeah, as it rightly says, basically it went on for 3 months at this property where. When I go out, also, the place was like cryptid central. Wherever I go, they start appearing. Do you know what I mean? And basically, I was like, I don't want to live here anymore. I can't stop this harassment. I'd go out, I'd gift, I'd beg, I'd plead. I'd say, please leave me alone. I'm sorry. You know, I've done nothing wrong. I never meant you any harm. I understand what I've done. I'm sorry. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered. They had made the decision. This jerk here has got to go. He knows too much. He's irritating us. He's going.
Right.
You know, and that's exactly what launched at me, and didn't change its course, didn't mellow off, nothing. You know, kept constantly on at me, bombarding me, and it was happening in the daytime then as well. And so it happened for 3 months there, and at the end of that 3 months, I was at the end of my tether. I was like, I could not get out of there quick enough. I'd have gone a lot sooner. It was during all the coronavirus. I had the money to move, luckily. I'd lived there 8 years. No way would I have moved. I loved the place. But I didn't. It became like cryptid central. These beings kept harassing me. I needed to go. I wanted to be gone. And so I put in place a move to a roof apartment. And so then I found out that they followed me there. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit as well. But they followed me there. I had another 4 months of this. So if you'd have told me at the end of that 3 months, you're going to suffer even another month of this at this roof apartment, I'd have been like, no, you know, I'd literally been brought down, just saying, not pleading with you, like, no, please, no, I've had enough, because that's where my mind was at. I'd had enough, more than enough. You know what I mean? Times 10. It was like, just leave me, just back off from bombarding me with this evil underhand weapon. Yeah. But never would that occur. It was like a satanic, evil beast that was demented and delighting in tormenting me, because that's the thing where I say I'm going to backtrack. This is where I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So they hated me. I became like cryptid enemy number 1. And I'll tell you why. It's because after this weapon was used on me for like a week or 10 days, I got very angry, irritated, and venomous. I was like, sorry, can I swear on your channel? I'm not going to swear, but if you imagine obscenities like, yes, you get lost, screw you, all of them things. If you imagine all the obscenities what a person can say,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, and a whole lot more. I was like, I'm not bothered. Come on, you know, like giving it the mouth big time.
Yeah, yeah. George Carlin, 7 words.
Yeah. And I was really digging deep with this and getting personal, like saying like, you're boring, Infrasound, do some exciting. I know you're up on that cliff, all sticks would be dropping and stuff like that. I'd be like, do a cartwheel, you're boring, you big hairy beast, you stink, you know, calling them foul, horrible names and stuff. Because it was like, they was torturing me, and it was the only sort of delight where I got in return, where I was like, I'd get up, I was like, you know what I do is stop it, I might as well just go with it and just vent me feet, you know what I mean? I had no respect for the weapon they was using on me.
Right.
It was low life and it was underhand. I couldn't defend against it. A scumbag weapon.
Yeah.
I learned to put loft insulation in my window, air-filled mattresses, boxes, curtains, quilts, all these sort of things I was doing. I was wearing foam earbuds, ear defenders on top. Well, more at the second place when I was doing that, but I certainly had foam earbuds at the first place. And it helped a little bit, but you still hurt and get affected through the bones in your head. It helps a little bit, but infrasound penetrates still. I mean, and I would hear like the chuntering of the beast and like all horrible sounds, just sounded evil all the time and just tormenting me, a real bad torment. And of course I was giving it all this mouth and insulting, and that didn't do me any favours, certainly didn't. In fact, things was getting that intense before I left Matlock that I was fearing for my life, because it was just getting that intense. Do you know what I mean? They was hating me and I was hating them back, and I was venting it, and I was like spitting on the floor and saying all this, and a real battle ensued. But so I might sound a bit like heroic here, but I'll tell you straight, I wasn't heroic. It was a one-sided battle. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing heroic I was able to do.
Right.
What could I do in retaliation? Nothing other than defend myself with game camera placements strapped to my windows, audio recorders. But that might have deterred them a bit, but didn't stop them at all. Do you know what I mean? They still carried on with this bombardment.
Yeah, it was a one-sided war.
Yeah, one-sided war. That's exactly what it was. It wasn't fun. Wasn't fun at all. And nothing I did. I'd beg. I'd say, please, just leave me alone now. I never meant you any harm. And that's the thing. I didn't. I was actually quite fond of these characters. That's the thing that hurt. You know, I was quite fond of them. But none of that all fell on deaf ears. I'd gift and say, you know, no, I'm not your enemy. I'm your friend. And that again made no difference. I'd sometimes take some of the gifts and then just carry on infrasounding me. Did it, you know, made no odds. And also I'd like plead with them and, you know, try mind speak. I'd be sat on my settee. I knew that they turned up, so I'd be mind speaking, and I felt the being be calmer. It felt like to me, and like I even got phone to my sister saying I'm doing it. I'm kind of telling it I'm sorry and stuff, and it does feel good. It feels calmer. But then I'd go to lie down, and it'd all kick off again. And so I'd come and I'd try that mind speak again, and then like I feel it would calm me. Go to lie down, it'd all kick off again. Gets to morning time, it kept me up all night, I was knackered, and I felt voodoo to high heaven. It just been infrasounding me. He kept wanting to pull me any way they could close to them into the front room to infrasound me with more effect, actually. And I was getting, so I talk about like how I knew that they were doing it off the cliff. I got loads of good torches from my mine. I used to go down this mine, Salat old mine, so I invested in loads of powerful torches. So I'd often get in my second bedroom window quick, I'd just appear, shine torch on cliff and like put them under pressure, if you like, there'd be all sticks dropping. And so I was trying to explain all this to my family. They was really struggling with it, of course. And I decided to buy a Heatseek Pro £600 infrared camera. And I was like, I'll prove this. This is a job, you know, this is settled. I'll prove this. No problem now. Let's have it. Come on, let's power you on. Let's have this. I'm going to get some right. But what I found was this, and I've got video evidence of this. When I go into my second bedroom window, I'd point it at two specific spots. One to the left, set back about 40 feet, maybe 50. One to the right, same distance. And I'd point it just at that spot. It was like a blue, green and red infrared, you know, Heatseek Pro thermal camera. Point it at this exact spot to the left, and it would flush out red. Lovely, boom, all red, boom. But move it away, go back to normal colours, point it to that spot, all red. To the right, this perches, there were two perches basically. These beings have the ability to flush it out red, this infrasound. This infrared Heatseek camera. So I talk about like some of the things I seen when I was in Matlock, where I seen this being peeking from the tree, and I seen a head retreating. So none of my sightings are epic. I'll be straight with you. They're just not epic sightings. Head retreating off the cliff. I seen 3 characters on Cromford Canal walking down the path. When I looked again, they're sort of gone. I got chased. This was when I was living at my second apartment. It happened in Matlock, so I'll talk about it. Where I went a bike ride to my dad's from Chesterfield, went through all the old haunts, if you like, that I used to go, and basically I had this like aeroplane engine incoming, which was the Bigfoot. So I phoned my stepmom just to tell her I didn't feel safe and stuff. I had hopes peeping around a tree at me, and then a Bigfoot running on the hillside wearing this black opaque shadow like form, and even looked like just the top half of him were form. That's what he looked like. I could see the legs, to be fair, so who knows. But we're going along the hillside and very aggressive at that point, and I'm talking to my camera because I'm recording, saying, oh, it could dump me in that pond now, all covered with algae, and no one would kind of know. And I'm thinking, oh, why am I saying that? I'm saying stupid things here. You know what I mean? But that's where it was at with my mind and these beings. So again, I asked them to stop and stuff. Went to my dad's, put my bike on charge, didn't stop at my dad's because I didn't want to take it there, of course. Took the little dog a walk on the park, and then it come running down the garden and jump in a tree. And so all throughout these 3 months, I'm thinking I'm dealing with a flesh and blood being here, and a team of them, granted. And I'm feeling that that's what I'm dealing with. And never for 1 minute would I thought anything of it. So if you just think that that's 3 whole months of harassment, where all this harassment, all this intenseness, me with my torch, with my cameras and stuff like that, and yet I still thought it was only in the physical. It was only when I moved I got to see the supernatural side of these beings, because they had to tap into that in order to continue to harass me. So, wow. Yeah, so I managed to get a move, my family helped me move, And I was so relieved. I was like, oh, to all my family, I love you. I'm so grateful for just helping me move boxes and stuff. This is great.
And
this is over.
That was good. That was good because your family believed you. And a lot of times people, when they're going through anything with cryptid involvements, their family doesn't believe them. But your family did believe you what was going on because they knew that you were an honest guy, that you're just, your word is your word.
They struggled. My two sisters come up one night and we had a thing where it's a long story. I was insulting the beings that morning because they'd been infrasounding me all night. It was that night when I'm on about when I was saying sorry and trying the mind speak. And the next morning they backed away and I realised what they'd been doing to me. So I went out onto my balcony. I was like, yes, scumbags, kids scumbags, get lost. And I was giving it all that. And so they started coming back towards my place. So I was like recording, saying, Dad, you wait now, this will be proof for you. But I ended up chickening it because I'm scared because of the infrasounding, turned on all my lights, opened all my blinds and went down that path. And basically, my sisters come up that night and I knew that they were going straight to me, angry. And that's exactly what they did. And so I'm laid in the hallway and I could hear them coming down. And I'm like realising what I got my sisters into there, and I'm like, I don't want my sisters here. This is not their battle. Do you know what I mean? I don't care about them getting evidence and stuff which were very hard for them to even open the mind up to the possibility anyway. So I wanted my sisters gone, and I felt like we was under threat, like intensely, because they'd come directly to my abode. Do you know what I mean? As soon as darkness dropped. So I'm talking to my sister, and I told her to call the police. So she called the police. I went out, checked the corridors, I went outside, and my neighbour said, what's the matter? And I'm a straight talker. That's what I'll always be, even if it's to my detriment. And I said, I'm getting harassed, that's what. I said, by stupid hair-covered beings, Bigfoot. That's I just played it out. That's just the type of character I am. And they were like, oh. And then all sticks started dropping off the cliff. And one of them said, hey, there's a person up there. And so what I was in the situation was totally right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was literally in the vicinity, and it literally could have jumped down, done what it wanted to do. So I'm like buzzing my buzzer and shouting my sisters, Kay, come on, I want get down here. And I can hear my other sister on phone and dilly-dallying about. So I was getting quite angry and aggressive because they weren't taking it serious. And police come out, and I talked to them, told them. And all the time the police were there, these beings they were still hovering about in the car park and stuff. And it was actually because they called the ambulance thinking I was having some sort of like mental thing. So the ambulance men come out, and it was actually them that heard this fake owl call in the car park and said, that's an odd owl. And I was like, exactly, because it's not an owl. You know what I mean? And basically, yeah. So my family struggled at first, which was only to be expected. And I was getting quite angry at them, saying, like, I'm disappointed in you. Never have I told a single piece of crap all my life. I mean, I've always spoke truth. When have I ever told one line of crap? And yet you're doubting me word. You're not listening to my words. But my sister later did when I moved to my second place. So I'm trying to tell this in an organised way. There's so much. So while I was in Matlock, I started witnessing look like portals on the hillside. I can tell you this, that these beings love water. Very often I'd hear it in the river just near me, delighted, in the river, splashing about, and, powerful river. So they'd be very into the water. As much as they'd be harassing me, sometimes they'd relieve and be in, noises in the river and stuff. I'd see odd orb phenomenon on the hillside and stuff, and on the cliffs behind me, I've got video recordings of very odd orb phenomenon and stuff. And, so I managed to get away from Matlock, thought my ordeal was all over, and only to find that I was at my next place, which had stupidly moved into a roof apartment. So, again, and it might put some of your viewers off, but this is fact. I lived in an apartment, and yet these beings had the ability to harass me intensely in an apartment. We're not talking about a farm, we're not talking about some secluded residence. I'm not saying it was the busiest apartment, I was just on the outskirts near the river and the path, and it was during coronavirus, etc. But it was an apartment. And I moved into a roof apartment, and I was there about a few days, and I'd start hearing these odd sounds again. Cars started sounding off. And I was like, feeling a bit uncomfortable. Then I started hearing all bangs up on the roof above me and stuff. And that was going off. And then I'd start hearing bangs and grumbling and stomps and banging aerial above me. Sometimes like 200 bangs during the night. I'm not making that up. Again, my lie detector. Have you ever knowingly told a single lie about your Bigfoot experience? No. And that I could answer that question again. You know what I mean? Whenever, and that will remain the same. I don't tell a single lie. So sometimes 200 bangs would be happening on this roof above me, and like this infrasound, like my electronics started getting interference again. And I'm like, no. I'd moved 12 miles away to Chesterfield, which was more populated. And I'm like, no. Dismissed it 200 times in my mind. And I was feeling so embarrassed if I had to consult my family with this. Like, it was so hard before. Yeah, I'd be going to them and saying, you know, it's happening here. You know, what's that say? That says like, oh, you're going mental, lad. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't it? That's what it spells out. You know, well, logical thinker. I knew how it sounded. The claim. You know what I mean? I've got out of Matlock. Yeah, they've appeared at the next place. Yeah. You know what I mean? That was crazy. And it was crazy to me. I couldn't make sense of it. And I thought back to one piece of information what Glenn from GPE, a YouTube channel, told me. And I've joked about kicking down all the stick structures. And he said during an email, he said, don't do that. They could follow you to your next place. And I didn't give that much thought, but that's exactly what had occurred. And at this next place, I couldn't defend myself as well because it would be directly on the roof above me. And so I talked about at the beginning that, you know, I've got my lie detector. You listen to a totally truthful person here, and so this is going to sound quite crazy sounding. And this was, imagine how hard it was for me to get my head around that I'm talking about. Even in the daytime, this being used to be up on this roof, like there was patches of trees opposite me where a teepee appeared. I'd see self-illuminating eyes and there's a Bigfoot shadow walking in the tree really high up, even when it was windy at times. But up on the roof with a young'un, it always bring a young'un, and infrasound the heck out of me. I was like a tortured mouse in a mousetrap. Do you know what I mean? Going from room to room, trying to get some relief from this being. Again, I was in the hallway, sleeping in the hallway. And still, it used to still get the same effect there. I had no relief in this place. It was horrible. And so this being was also able to do this. So you tell me how this even works. In the sunlight, the daytime. In the daytime, still able to do that. And infrasound when cloaked. Do you know what I mean? When cloaked, still able to infrasound me. Do you know what I mean? Like, what the heck? How does that even work? An invisible being able to infrasound. Well, we know that these beings are cloaked. They're still physically there, aren't they? And another thing, so I've always forgot this in previous interviews, but I just want to mention this, that I started seeing a very odd flash. I'd be in my front room and I'd see a flash, like a camera flash times 10. Do you know what I mean? And that's odd. And then I'd see it again like 2 hours later. And it was whatever funky abilities these beings have got, like teleporting, whatever they were doing, that flash was tied in with them, definitely. So when I'd look out my window, I'd see self-illuminating eyes looking back at me and stuff like that. So I've also been out on my e-bike and I've seen like an 18-inch on all fours, so it would have been taller if it stood up, like little young monkey shadow form run across the road in front of my e-bike. So, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen, like, a donkey-sized being run across the field when I was on my mountain bike at Holmbuck Valley Park. And, again, wherever I went, I was, like, tagged. I was a cursed man. That's what I used to be telling myself all the time. I'm a cursed man. And I was. I had the beast from hell on my back. I'd go to my dad's to visit him. And before long, I'd start hearing activities on the gardens nearby and chun-chewing. I couldn't make sense of it at the time. This was when I was still living at Matlock. And these beings were able to home in on me. So there was like amplifying my electromagnetic signal, I've come to find out, or in my opinion, where whatever they was doing to me was making me beam like a beacon to them. Do you know what I mean? And they was able to be in this like spiritual realm or whatever funky thing they could do and attract me.
Yeah, that's how they found you, right? Is by that way, that electromagnet. That is.
Yeah, because I moved 12 miles away. You know, there was no physical, there was no connection. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's like you didn't leave a letter behind saying, "Hey, this is where I'm gonna be. Come find me." They legitly found you.
So I never thought for 1 minute that would occur at my next residence, and it did. And so all the time I enjoyed all this, I'm having to play catch up and make sense of what was happening to me. So the things that had been happening to me, like the Bigfoot voodoo, what's happening, I'm getting a weapon launched against me, I don't know what on earth, why am I feeling like this, this is confusing, what's this at home, what's this interference? I'd have to go on the internet and figure it out from accounts. And so Infrasound is also a very hard to understand and not talked about very much. I'll touch on that in a minute. But so when I started, when I experienced the tagging and the supernatural aspect of these beings like cloak and stuff like that, they honestly can, honestly can. And for long periods of time too. How that works, I have no idea. But it's like the ultimate enemy. Do you know what I mean? I had like the ultimate enemy on me. Just so much more powerful than me. And so I'd like unleashed the beast from hell on myself. And there was no way of stopping it. Do you know what I mean? I learned later that when I was with other people, back off, and I ended up, just to add to the realism of all this, they started harassing me while I was at work. So I'd leave my home, the roof apartment in Chesterfield, I'd jump in my works van, drive to Matlock, go to my garage at the top of Verse Farm to get some stuff, and I got blasted by infrasound there, where a different type, like an aeroplane engine hitting you. So I heard a being coming through the trees, all this sort of thing, all movement. I've actually got a video of that, I'll send you as well, where you can see the being near the tree. But he blasted me with infrasound there, and I was basically getting pursued at work. I was laying some concrete, and I got run up on in the invisible. They had the big heavy footsteps. I knew they'd been coming to get me because they knew I was there the day before and started forming around me in the trees nearby. And I knew I was for it the next day, and I was. The infrasound of me while I was laying concrete, run up on me in the invisible, and I just because this infrasound, it just sort of resonate in your head. Like, it didn't just leave you. When you got away from the situation, it like affected your head, and you literally had to wrap your head in pillars for 12 hours for it to return back to normal. Or this used to work as well. So this also adds to the credibility of the weapon. When I used to leave my home and I'd go for like a walk somewhere, the effects would start subsiding. Do you know what I mean? It was at my home where I was suffering this weapon. When I'd leave my home, drive my car on my mountain bike, whatever, go for a walk, whatever, I'd go for a walk and it'd likely turn up or similar, but the effects would start subsiding. You know what I mean? I learned that.
Yeah, because they
started arresting me at work.
They had you contained at your home. They had you like you were cut off. So, really quick, just so people know, we're using Messenger to communicate, and that we're having a bit of technical difficulty. We got cut off, but what I was saying to Rob was, he was getting these attacks at his home, but when he left his home, he was feeling like a reprieve of it, and it was almost like they were attacking you there because they had you contained, almost like you were a prisoner of your own home and they were containing you there.
That's right. Again, that's a really good description. I was like a mouse in a torturous, mouse trap with a being from hell.
Yeah.
Infrasounding the hell out of me. I was like darting from room to room, and at this point, I'd learned to defend a little bit. I'd got infrasound detector app on my phone and stuff like that, which used to sound a lot. I'll touch upon the complexity of infrasound soon. But, so I'd learned to put in foamia bungs. So I bought the highest 39 decibel foamia bungs. So as soon as I got back home, they'd be in my ears. Then I'd have ear defenders with bags of insulation on them. So we're talking about, I can imagine how crazy I'd have looked and stuff. But it was the summertime at that time as well. So I'd have fans blowing. And I'd have this beast infrasounding me, and the confusion. You can imagine the intensity it puts in you in your own mind when you've got your ears blocked off, but you still hear things through the bones in your head. And so I'd be darting from room to room, and I'd be like kicking up my camera and recording to test the level of attack, the interference on my pixelization on my camera, and all this sort of thing, electrical interference. And so I'd start. The hallway was actually quite a bad place, but I'd start trying to dart from room to room, and just looking for some reprieve from this. And of course, all the time I was craving my bed. Do you know what I mean? But I knew if I lay down in my bed for too long, it sort of knew where I was and started focusing its weapon on that. And I feel like my bed was vibrating at times, but start infrasounding the high heaven out of me while I'm laid in bed. So I'd start, I can't be here much longer, so I'd like get up and move, and I'd try and slide somewhere else. I'd have recorders recording all the time. I brought a personal alarm, what you put around your wrist and pull a finger out to, you know, one of them alarms. I'd have cameras recording for my own safety and stuff. I'd set up a little tent behind the settee, which was quilts and stuff held up by poles, and so I'd try and lay down behind the settee, and I'd have these earplugs in, and I'd have pillars on my head. But then, of course, you feel quite unsafe because you're laid there and you can't hear nothing, you can't see nothing. And one time, so this is just something that I'll mention. When I was laid on my bed face down, I felt like I had my bum cheeks pinched. This is quite embarrassing to talk about, but I'm a straight talker. I'm just going to tell it how it happened. So I felt like I had my bum cheeks pinched. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I laid down on bed, and I had this sock wrapped around my head and ears, and I can't remember where I had earplugs in. That's quite irrelevant. But I felt like I had my bum cheeks pinched, and that knocked it up to another level of fear. You can imagine the fear then. Do you know what I mean? Like the thought of. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so then it became where I'd be trying to get some reprieve and put pillars on my head and stuff. I didn't feel safe like that, you know what I mean, in that way. So I had all recorders going all the time, and I had a personal alarm and stuff like that. It was just and yet this beast just sort of delight in it, you know, really thrive on it. And I had a young one with it all the time. I'd hear the pitter-patter of feet going from room to room up on the roof, trying to figure out fully where I was located. But it was, you know, so again, you mentioned it earlier, and it ground me down. After the 3 months in Matlock, I'd had enough. That's how I'd weighed it at that point. I'd had enough. It was like, I've had a skinful of this. You know, I've unleashed the beast from hell on me. I'm out of here. Get me out of here. I've gone 2 months back. You know, just like horrible. The place had changed. It had become like Cryptid Central, wherever I'd go and stuff that appear, and it just horrible vibe to the whole area. It changed for me, and I wanted to be gone. And at that 3 months, I'd had enough. But then for it to carry on for another 4 months, you know, it really pushed my ability of what I could take. I got infrasounded to high heaven, do you know what I mean, and back. And nothing would stop it, nothing. I was playing prayers, I was praying myself, begging, you know, God to help me. I was playing prayers, powerful prayers on YouTube, like Carla so-and-so, you know, cast evil away. In Jesus' name, I command you to go. In Jesus' name, the blood of Jesus will wash you clean. Be gone evil. You know what I mean? All these powerful prayers I was playing. I was desperate. I was trying everything. And I was playing my own prayer on MP3, what I recorded, saying you will not present yourself as more powerful than Jesus Christ. I call down Jesus to please protect me from this evil, you know, and all this, playing that. And all it used to do is wind it up. And I even tapped into mantras, where I was playing like mantras, Indian mantras, but they repeat 108 times, like, aya, 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 casting away evil. And they actually seem to have more effect, stroke, pee it off a lot more.
Really?
The one time when I felt like it did want to really scream and vocalise way up on the roof was when I was hitting these mantras, just repetitive, 108 times, and playing it again, quite powerful, like mantras.
I wonder if the mantra had like, you know, almost an effect, you know, like the infrasound or the electromagnetic, whatever it was that they were doing to you. I wonder if it was like those mantras were like what it was doing to you back to it.
So I was playing like the most powerful mantras, and also powerful ones like kill evil and cast away evil and prison evil. Like, so I'm not saying they were, because they didn't. The beast was still carrying on and pushing through that anyway. But it felt like he was putting a bit of wrestle there. You know what I mean? It just felt like that. Like, they had an effect on it, should we say, of frustration, anger, but it didn't stop it. It didn't stop. Nothing stopped. Nothing. That was the thing. I contacted that Glenn so at the time while this was happening, which was really low life, this channel whose video I'd followed who never gives warnings about these beings, who I was a Patreon of, I gave gifts to, money, I followed it. It was her video what made me act. Deborah Hatswell, BBR. I'm getting accused of being a hoax during all this. You know what I mean? Which she offended me more than anybody else in all my life. I contacted Glenn about trying to stop this, and he said to say positivity statements and play them every morning, every evening. He had no idea. He had no idea how much, what evil I was up against. You know what I mean? Nothing was stopping like that. I'm not a chance in hell of doing that.
It's terrible. The thing that really is frustrating about what you just said too is that you were reaching out to people, and you're going through hell in your own home, and you're breaking down. You're to the point where suicide or whatever is in your mind, and you're reaching out to people, and they're just discrediting you, which is disgusting, because it's not what should have happened. Even if that person didn't know how to help you, they could have been there to just listen to you express what the heck was going on, because that would have helped.
Against you.
Yeah.
And ridicule you and call you. Just to cover on that. So I've never been so offended in all my life. Basically, I got accused of hoaxing, which I'm like, what do you mean hoaxing? Are you saying that me and some friends have been walking around on a winter's fog-filled night making all monkey noises and shouting and yelling? I don't understand what you're saying, like hoaxing. Anyway, I got accused of hoaxing, and she basically, it was really horrible to me, said I'd contradicted myself and lied and was no longer credible. I was like, right, send me one contradiction I've ever done. One lie, one. Never could. You know what I mean?
Right.
And just to communicate the sort of thing. I'm a man of pride, and so when I was getting accused of being a liar, I found that really offensive and really took offence at that. So tried to correct that and claim, correct that and claw it back, as in like, no, I'm not. Listen to this bit. So she had already decided I was a hoax, and that was. I paid for this integrity test later down the line when it had all ended. And I paid £400 for it, and I passed them 4 questions, which again, just to blurt them out quickly, have I seen what I know for sure to be a cryptid? Yes, told the truth. Was the only reason I left my home in Matlock, the first home, due to harassment from these cryptids? Yes. Only reason, told the truth. Have I seen these cryptids on more than 4 occasions? Yes, told the truth. Have I ever knowingly told a single lie about my Bigfoot experience? No, I haven't, told the truth. And I sent a copy of that to her, and do you know what I got in response? Of course you passed. You paid the company. You know, saying I paid them to give me a false test. How offensive, how venomous, how poisonous, how evil. Do you know what I mean? Not to even subside one bit and say, do you know what? I actually recognise that you might have really faced an ordeal here. And so all the time I was communicating with her, just saying like, you should really not be encouraging people to seek out these beings. They're very dangerous. Again, not bothered, not interested, so. Yeah,
that's all you were saying. You weren't saying anything other than, hey, just just tell people not to seek these things out. I'm going through hell. I don't want people to go through this hell.
Really get across.
It wasn't like you were looking for popularity or anything else. You were just looking for an outlet to.
What popularity comes with this? I mean, I'm doing this now, but does this make me popular? No. Who knows who I am? Nobody knows who I am. It doesn't make you popular talking about these things, does it?
No.
I mean, there's no reward in any of this. Really.
Yeah,
not that I'm aware of anyway. In fact, it's quite a cursed topic. You know what I mean?
Or, the reward is the benefit, or reward is helping someone else understand something that they may be going through. But it's just, it's a double kick in the old junk to be going through that stuff and then having to go through that other stuff with that, is just, So let's move on off of that, because that's just that's poison, and you're past that. But so you have moved now and gone through approximately 4 more months of hell. Almost identical to what you had gone through for the first 3, correct? Or
even worse, because at Matlock they was launching the infrasound off the cliff behind my home, which was set back about 20 metres, 25 metres. Then there was these 2 perches, so they was set back even a bit more. So they used to come closer and stuff like that. We've talked about that video I've got, which will, that one with the alien head and the Sasquatch infrasounding me directly opposite my bedroom window, but also off the balcony as well. But at least I had some sort of safety net. I'd learned to barrier my bedroom window. I was sleeping in the hallway still. They were still affecting me, but I got the building structure as a barrier. When I moved into this second home, I'd made the worst choice. I'd moved into an actual roof apartment. I was living in the roof of it. The Bigfoot was on the roof. So you can imagine it enabled it. Although there wasn't this same amount of teamed effort, it was like the specialist infrasounder and a young gun, shall we say, what used to get me, sometimes 2. But they'd be getting me where I'd not got as much protection, and the windows was actually on a 45 degree, the angle of the roof.
Yep.
So I couldn't block them out the same. And I found that I did that. I managed to get ceiling poles where I was plasterboards up, and put a plasterboard up against the ceiling with all a quilt of insulation on the other side. But all the time I'm looking crazy during this. Thankfully nobody come in my apartment, you know what I mean? But only my sister and stuff. But I was trying to block out them windows, but I found that it didn't matter because it just went through the actual roof of the building.
When they were on your roof, you could physically hear them on your roof too, right?
Yeah. So one side effect of this infrasound is that. Do you want me to talk about infrasound a little bit? So I learned about this infrasound, and it's such a taboo subject. So I'll just mention about when we talked about the sound. So infrasound actually affects the inner ear fluids, mixes the inner ear fluids. So sounds start sounding off. You get confused. You can't pinpoint sounds, and you lose your balance. That's one side effect. But so while all this infrasound's happening to me, I'm trying to research, protect against infrasound. And it's such a taboo subject where people have not publicised that much, or if the sort of reviews what they have publicised are that sort of scientific and complex, because it's below the human hearing range. So there's not that much interest in it. It's not that relevant to humans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wind turbines make infrasound. There's been a little bit of study on that, etc. Certain animals can do infrasound, like elephants, tigers, etc., etc. And so I'm trying to figure out infrasound and how to defend against it. And of course, that's not a subject what's covered. Move away from the infrasound, basically. That's That's the sort of thing what I gathered. I'm trying to understand the sound scale, and again, it's that complex. It's like 20 hertz minus 20 hertz decibels, and it's all complex and not easy to understand. And you start trying to figure out whether you are getting infrasounded. Now, I've got all this strange electronic interference, and I'm feeling all the effects of this. And at times, I can hear this odd humming. Every car sounds evil. But you try and get a detector to show infrasound. So I think there's one app on the App Store called Infrasound Detector, and it's such a complex, and who knows whether it works. It used to alarm for me a lot, but the normal electronics can't detect infrasound because they don't make them to, because it's not relevant to us. Do you know what I mean? The normal microphone doesn't go that low, etc. So it's such a taboo sort of complex. You're banging your head against a brick trying to figure it out. So again, defending against it, I was trying to figure out, can you defend against it? So you can, I just learned that from the physically doing it, by putting a barrier between you and the infrasound, the weapon. So i.e. loft insulation is a great insulator. Do your windows out with that, and foam mattresses, quilts, hanging them from doors, and all things what we know would insulate. Putting another room between you and the weapon certainly helped. But it didn't stop it. You still got the effects of it, and you hear through the bones in your head, and you still get affected. So if you block out your ears fully, putting foam earbuds in and ear defenders on top, you think that's it, you're sorted. You're not. You still hear the infrasound through that. I could still hear the beast juntering and talking, like it was doing it in a frequency what was that low, you could like hear it through the bones in your head, and that's the fact, you do hear
like
through the bones in your head.
Like a bass noise kind of that was low.
Just a lot of chuckling.
Yeah. When you had mentioned infrasound and you were talking about the effects and stuff, I quick looked it up and I wanted to see something. And it said in September of 2009, a London student named Tom Reed died of sudden arrhythmic death syndrome, or SADS, after complaining that loud bass notes were getting to his heart. And like you had just said, wind turbines can make these noises and stuff, but a lot of supernatural events are taking place. And this infrasound is nothing to mess with. It's a dangerous weapon.
Exactly. So if people think I'm just phoning up, so fair enough, I've not like gone into woods with a gun and been pursued by a red-eyed Sasquatch for 2 miles. You know what I mean? Like, my story's not that sort of horrible, like threatening thing, but it is this powerful thing what I suffered, which was lasted so long, and such an underhand weapon and powerful. I describe it as powerful. Drove me out of 2 homes, drove me where I just had enough. I just like, do you know what? If this is how it's going to be for me, I don't want it. I just want out. I just want a peaceful lie down and just go. I just want to go. I've just had enough. It won't back off. Tried everything. You know what I mean? I've tried everything and a bit more. Tried everything, loads of times. Just won't stop. I've had enough. Like, it's won me. It's beat me. You beat me. You won. I just want out. You know what I mean? Very close to that. We're even putting in place the pieces to fulfill that. And I went down to my sister's, and I talked to my sister, and I'm laid on a conservatory floor, and I'm describing to her, I'm like, it's getting me at work now. So that's another thing. I went off at work 4 months with stress, anxiety, and because it was getting me at work. I couldn't cope at home getting me, and at work it was just too much, you know what I mean? And I ended up laying that concrete, and I phoned my gaffer to say I was having that anxiety while we were talking and stuff, to say I'm good. And he's like, yeah, Rob, okay, calm down, get your son off phone, calm down. I was badly affected by it. I phoned my sister before that, and she was like, Rob, yeah, just go off work, you need to do this. And that's what I needed to do. And I did that, and I went down to my sister's, and I'm laying on a conservatory floor. And again, I'm no wussy, not no Rambo, but I'm no wussy.
Right.
And I'm laid on her floor, and I'm talking to her. And so I used to try and work through it logically, which was very hard when you're suffering this infrasound anyway. But I'm like, Kay, it's a beast from hell. I'm like, I can't defend against it. I can't physically do anything. I can't outrun it. I can't attack it. I can't. I've said, if you want me, come and snap my neck. Come and snap my neck. Do it now. Just stop infrasounding me. I've had enough. But that didn't matter. Nothing. I couldn't bribe it. I couldn't gift. I couldn't say sorry. I couldn't beg. I did beg. I pleaded. I've been in tears pleading. I'm not too proud to admit that. You know what I mean? That's how much it ground me down.
Yeah.
Where I'm, just begging it, just saying, please now, come on now, please just stop, please. I'm not your enemy. It's what you say all the time. I'm not your enemy. I'm not friend. Please. I'm sorry. If I've said it 1,000 times, I've said it double that. Do you know what I mean? Literally, not bothered. It weren't one bit bothered. Didn't care one. Merciless. Remember the 3 words what I mentioned? Evil, powerful, merciless.
Yeah.
All the way through. That's exactly what it played out. Void of mercy. Didn't care one bit.
It really broke you down. It broke you down too.
Yeah, it really broke me down and then some. So I'm at my sister's, and I'm like telling her, I'm like, look, I can't. What can I do? It can be invisible. It can track me. I mean, it's like a beast from hell. I unleashed a beast from hell on myself. And I don't want to endanger any family. All this sort of thing. She's like, you're gonna have to go and stop with Steve, my brother. And I'm like, no, I don't. In case I'm gonna take it there. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I was at. I'm going to do it, Kate. It's my choice. You will respect what I'm saying. And if I want out of this, I'm having out. She's like, no, don't be stupid. I'm not being stupid, Kate. I'm like, this is my choice. And I've had enough. I've had enough, Kate. I'm not being funny. I'm not being weak. But it's my choice. And I just want to press that quit button. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I was at. And as why I'm saying this to talking to her, I'm like having anxiety, like I know that might sound a bit weird over the microphone, but you can imagine that I'm trying to impersonate the level of anxiety.
Panic attack. You're having a panic attack. Yeah.
And that's from this harassment. I mean, like, such anxiety, such it was infrasound hell. You know what I mean? And so perhaps I brought a lot of that on myself by abusing them. So it went like this. It went like this, where I investigated them. I angered him, made mistakes, got to know too much too quick, I'd say, angered him again some more, pissed him off, ignored a bluff charge, ignored some low-frequency growls, what they gave me, didn't show them respect, didn't know what I was messing with. I was quite unique in the fact that I had this mountain bike and I was like chasing them down, trying to trap them into running at me so I could record it, all like weird sort of things like that. So that's what it took, basically, for them to decide to turn on me. And they turned on me, and so they turned on me and started like infrasounding me and defeating me. But then that every action's got a reaction, and my reaction was aggression and like anger. Like what doing this to me, and so that therefore escalated it further, and it just from there it just escalated so much. But it was so frustrating for me to be dealt this underhand weapon that I couldn't defend against. And at the end of the day, I never meant them any harm. I was just very curious, very intrigued.
Right.
And I actually thought, like, I was fond of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought I was building a rapport, how far off the mark I was, and I didn't have no idea what these beings actually were. Never thought for 1 minute that this sort of thing could occur, what happened to me.
Yeah.
And it was just a recipe for disaster. But I just want to warn people out there that it's a recipe what you could trigger. Do you know what I mean? What I did was not that unusual.
Right.
And people out there what think they're just having fun researching these beings, going into woods and trying to put game cams and outsly them and all this. You won't outsly them, for one thing. They're so in tune with electronics. They found every recorder I ever placed. I didn't do it in a secret way. I even shouted food, as I was leaving it and stuff. But they found every recorder, every game camera. They're so in tune with electronics. You won't outsmart them, and yet they seem to tolerate audio, but you're certainly going to anger them by trying to sly them on camera.
Yep.
And it's just not worth it. It's just really not worth it, because you're not just messing with like a being like what's considered the norm. You're honestly not, And don't forget, I suffered for 3 months harassment, and yet I didn't know this supernatural aspect of them for 3 full months. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know it, because they didn't have to let me see that aspect of them.
Mm-hmm.
But when I moved, they had to tap into that.
That when you finally moved, that's when you realized. I mean, it's
yeah. Basically, they couldn't have carried on getting me unless they'd have done it in this cloaked form and this black shadow form, and I was seeing these self-illuminating eyes, and they had to tap into their abilities. Like I knew 100% then, of course, that I was proper tracked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When that occurred.
Yeah.
So and that took it. That notched it up so much where. That's where I started thinking, like, well, just what am I up against here? I can remember talking to a friend of mine from Canada. I actually became friends with him because on that Scott Carpenter website, I reach out saying, please, if anybody can help me, is it possible to follow me to my next home? I'm getting infrasounded. Please contact me on. And this 3 people did. 2 of them sort of listened to my. But it was that hard trying to communicate what was happening to me. But this guy, Larry, he listened to me in an email. He actually called me. And we spoke on the phone. And while we were speaking, I'm getting infrasound. He's up on the beast is up on the roof sort of thing. And he's telling me, he's saying, you really don't want to pee these beings off. And I'm like, actually.
Yeah.
I've really done that.
Little late now.
Yeah, exactly. And I really dug deep in that regard. Because I took the towel in, they were defeating me, destroying me, making my life out, and that I used to find like some satisfaction in just hearing abuse back. Like when somebody's getting bullied really bad at school or something, and they just, when they like, oh, get lost to bully, you stink, you get a bit of satisfaction for that lashing out a little bit back.
Yep.
So, and he was actually telling me, he was saying like, these beings could be right next to you and you'd not even know it.
You don't know it,
and he told me something what really unnerved me as well, and that was he's heard of an account where this being just appeared in a guy's front room and walked through the front room and then just disappeared through the wall. And I'm like, oh, great, didn't want to hear that. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we're potentially dealing with here. Okay.
I don't.
Before my bum cheeks were squeezed.
I don't want to cut you off, but I've got about 10 more minutes of recording time left. You and I are going to talk some more. You've got other stuff you want to share with me and with us. But I kind of want to ask, with the last couple of minutes that we got, when did it end? When did it, or is it still going on?
So I moved from Matlock to Chesterfield, and I ended up paying up. So I had to get a loan to move from there again. That adds more credence to it. And I moved to another place, and they've been here. They still come here occasionally to check on me and make me feel uncomfortable. And there's never been no nice feeling when they have come here. They're still in my life and still come and check on me. I don't go in the woods. There's no chance of that sort of thing. I don't want to. But they still come even now to this place and check on me once and that's actually happened in the last 2 nights where that's occurred. And that's why I've actually been a bit unnerved tonight talking. But I'm going to talk, and I'm not going to let intimidation stop me in that regard. Yeah, so it's not happening where they're coming in infrasounding the hell out of me.
Yeah.
The being has been to this where I'm living now. So yeah, it happened. It stopped where I went to my brother's for 4 months, and it followed me there. And it was when I was around, like my brother and my sister, and more back away and give it up. You know what I mean? And I stopped there. I was 4 months off work with stress and anxiety, and I stopped at my brother's for 4 months, and then I moved to this place which is in Chesterfield again, and they have been here since. I've sort of gone through a really specific property where it's very hard to get me now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
so these attacks have not only have these, so people can realize how powerful and how much hell and suffering you've gone through. You were at the point of suicide. You have been at the point where you've had to take time off of work. You have been at the point where you had to move out of a place that you lived for 8 years. Then you had to move again, and then finally move again, pay countless amounts of money out of your own pocket. One, just to kind of have a backing so you had proof that you weren't lying about anything, which is BS that, anyone wouldn't believe you anyway, because the way you're describing everything is someone can't make this crap up. This is not, this is hell on earth right now, what you've gone through.
Yeah.
And
I've given my interview twice before. On one of them, I actually go on camera, and it's your call, but you're welcome. I'll link them to you, and you're welcome to put them in the comments so that if people, not only that, in one of them, they can actually assess my body language. I chose to go on camera. I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to hide from people. It happened to me, very real. I'll go on camera and I'll talk about it. It's not a problem. Assess me. Come on, assess my body language, etc. I'm an honest person. You'll see that. And both of them have had really positive feedback and stuff. So just, there's not only this interview, there's sort of 3. And if anybody was boring enough to want to watch all 3, they could do, and they wouldn't pick it apart and say, hold on, he said this here, said that. It's a consistent, because it's a very real event.
Yeah.
And so it's consistent, and I'm on camera as well, if anybody does want to assess body language and stuff.
Yeah. So, pretty much, to me, you made a statement where you were like, I don't have the encounters that, I'm getting chased miles by a dog man, but you went through something and still are going through something far worse. And this is truly an encounter from hell. And the only thing I can say is you're a very strong person. I'm glad that you didn't take your own life, and I'm glad that, you've reached out to certain people that may, I've got a large following, so I'm hoping that, people can give you some ideas. And I know, like you listed, nothing worked. Anything you tried, prayers didn't work, mantras didn't work. Maybe someone with a scientific mind will hear this, and maybe they can come up with something, because if prayer didn't work and anything else that normally does work or claims to work, maybe someone can help you, because this is not, no one should have to go through hell like this.
For me now, I still do get these beings check up on me now and again, should we say, but it's the hell's stopped. I mean, they've sort of backed away. I don't go anywhere near their woods, etc. So I don't feel like I need that sort of, help. But certainly, that information certainly great value into it. Because I've no doubt that there's other people being victim to this sort of weapon, but not understanding what's happening to them and stuff. Like lone farmers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's bound to be happening.
Yeah.
They didn't need to snap my neck. They didn't need to physically hurt me. That I've seen all these sightings of them, but the boring sightings and stuff, intimidating a little bit, yeah. But it was just this weapon, this underhand weapon, that had great effect. They didn't need to do anything else, because that drove me out of 2 homes. Like I say, I used money I had in Matlock to move to the second home, but then when I was in that home, I had to take out a loan, so we called it my Bigfoot loan, and I gave that property up prematurely. I had to pay up for the full year and gave it up prematurely. You know what I mean? So again, that adds to the authenticity.
Yeah, you had to buy your way out of your lease. Are you there?
Yeah. Sorry,
okay. Yeah, you had to buy your way out of your lease, which is, exactly people that are lying don't do that shit. You know what I mean? They just don't spend countless amounts of money because they want to prove that they're not lying.
£100 for that lie detector test, which people might be like, well, why do you do that? It's weird. No, it's not weird. I value my integrity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want my family and people around me, not that many people have even seen that lie detector test, apart from the fact that it has gone on the YouTube, fair enough. But that wasn't the purpose I had it for. It was just to prove to my closest family and a few people around me and that channel, but that didn't work, that, I've not told a single lie. What I went through was very real, and I wasn't losing the plot. Yes, I was losing the plot, but that was an effect of what was happening to me.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? What was happening to me was very real, and in addition to that, I've spoke no lie. I'm not that type of person. My integrity, here it is, it's proved. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So
I do.
That was worth the money to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'm gonna have to end this, but I don't want you to hang up, because I want to talk to you for a few minutes afterward.
Okay.
I know that you and I have talked a little bit before. Of course, I'm gonna have you back so you can share a little more stuff that you've got to go with this. Man, this is one of these that I wish I had the more ability to record more, but I think people look forward to hearing you again, to be honest with you, because you've got an experience and a message that people need to hear. And it's don't mess with these things, because
definitely. That's the one underlying thing. And I've certainly got a lot more in my mind. If you imagine 7 months is 210 nights and days, fair enough, it wasn't every night, but not far off. So I got to witness a lot in that. So there's a lot in my mind what we've not talked about, which with further talking, would come out and stuff.
Yep. So don't hang up. I want to talk to you for a few minutes after. And it was a pleasure having you on, and I'm looking forward to having you back, if you will come back. So
yeah, of course, yeah, and all the best to your listeners, and just be careful out there. These beings can be very evil. Remember them 3 words: evil, powerful, merciless.
Yeah, probably one of the most powerful messages right there to end an upload with. So thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. Don't hang up, okay?
Okay.
All right, guys. During that interview, we were using Facebook Messenger. He lives in England, obviously, and me being in the United States. Upstate New York is getting hit by a pretty sizable rainstorm, and we lost connection a couple different times. So there is a little interval, a couple different areas, but I tried to tie it all together as best as I could. Anyway, needless to say, that's Rob's experiences. Rob has more. And he will share them with us. And like I said, he's got pictures, he's got audio, he's got video. And I'm looking forward to seeing them. Well, actually, I have them. I'm looking forward to showing them to you guys. Until then, may the Great Spirit watch over us all. May he guide us on that path that we call life.